Welcome to Ascalon's Operator Showcase, and we're going to be showing you all 3 skills of Ascalon because they're just that amazing. I'm going to start off the stage by placing Ascalon over here, and just like that, look at that! No hands! I can just let the stage play on its own. This is thanks to Ascalon's first skill being an auto recovery skill and also an auto activate skill. The first skill allows her to increase her attack by a certain percentage and attacks the enemies twice consecutively, and it's able to store charges as well, which is pretty neat if you want like some kind of burst when an enemy comes into play. Now, in a stage like Invitation to Wine, it's so good to have an Ascalon because it's almost like having an overdrived Ethan, thanks to her first talent. In her first talent, her attacks will inflict an effect on the enemies. Their movement speed will be reduced, and they'll take 10% of her attack as arts damage per second for 25 seconds. So even if they're out of her range, they're taking big DOT damage while also moving slower within the stage. And this can stack up to 3 times. Not so much on the hit count per se, but it's more so the amount of damage. So this is honestly awesome that she's able to do that. So when all of these talisman needing the hit count stuff to appear, Ascalon is just able to take them out even if they were to go outside of her own range. Now, take note of the way that you place Ascalon in the stages, because if you want to maximize the damage she has, in her second talent, it allows her to have an ASPD increase. But she does gain additional ASPD if there's a high ground around her 4 adjacent tiles, allowing her to attack faster. So that's kind of why I place her like this. But there's a bit of a weakness with the way I'm playing this stage, because she is in the line of fire towards the ranged enemies. So this does come down to what module you use for Ascalon. In this case, I'm using mod X right now, where it reduces the movement speed of enemies even more when the enemies are within her attack range. But if you were to use mod Y, it does something different. If you have that at least level 2, it is able to let her recover HP for enemies killed inside of her range. So if I were to have used that, she would be able to survive, but I don't get that movement speed and the better amount of damage that comes together with mod X. Mod X is definitely more suitable when using her skill 2, which you'll find out later on, and mod Y more suitable for using her skill 3. But with that, there goes Ascalon. Let's go to the next stage. In this next stage, we're going to Babel, the first place where you got to see Ascalon. She's using a skill 2, which is the main skill you use quite a lot of times because it's a very fast recovery skill, 20 SP to charge, and 35 seconds long. Her attack will be increased by 130% at M3, movement speed of ground enemies will be reduced by 60%, and can inflict 1 stack of talent 1, so those poison stack, on nearby enemies if someone is defeated. You can see the stack of talent 1 actually being in play. Using this skin that I have for Ascalon is the number of butterflies that are around the enemies. So if there are 3 butterflies, it means that you have received the full stack. It's really nice to use Mizuki and Ascalon here because for those turrets that's hitting them, or even other enemies, they have a chance to dodge thanks to their trait being an ambusher. So pretty nice to use it here, and also to slow the enemies down to let Entelekia, Pawns, and all the other 2 units to deal maximum damage. Here's another application of Ascalon's skill 2. So I start the stage by placing her immediately, and turning on the skill, it lowers the movement speed of the enemies and deal a high amount of damage. It's a wonderful pairing with module X because it further lowers the movement speed. Take note that movement speed doesn't add together such that you can 100% deduct the movement speed of enemies. It's multiplicative. But with the use of her talent, the module, and also the skill, the enemies are insanely slow. Also, when looking at the stacks for the original Ascalon skin, it doesn't use the butterflies, instead it's the purple swirl. So when you see the swirl go fully around the enemies, it means that they have received maximum stats. As the stage progresses, Patriot comes into play together with the shield guards. I turn on Ascalon's skill in order to massively slow them while also adding damage. Not so much to hurt Patriot because Patriot has insanely high resistance, but for the other enemies, they are definitely peeling away with the fact that they stand still in Ascalon's range. So when Patriot starts to get into the range close to monster who is dealing true damage, I use Ascalon's skill to make sure that he's massively slow, take his time in order to arrive into the range, and then later on be able to use monster skill for a second time and manage the kill of his first phase. So we've explained how Ascalon's skill 2 can be really good to use, but there's a big thing for you to note in terms of the amount of spaghetti coding that happens in play. So as you can see, these enemies are being killed by a skill 2, which, correctly speaking, her skill 2 should inflict the talent 1 onto nearby enemies, the surrounding enemies. But you can see that the drones don't have the purple swirl around them, meaning that they are unaffected. So this seems okay, reasonable. But later on, there's going to be more drones that fly in, so technically they shouldn't be affected by her at all. In Module X, it specifically states that it slows the movement speed of enemies within the unit's attack range. But you can see that the drones have this current movement speed. It doesn't actually affect them, they're still moving normally. But Skill 2 states movement speed of ground enemies in attack range is reduced. If I turn it on, the drones are getting slowed. So it actually affects all enemies. So it's really weird that there is this strange error within the game's code, but yeah, it affects flying enemies when you turn on skill 2. That's just what you need to know. The talent transfer stuff doesn't affect flying enemies. The biggest spaghetti code that we might have in the game. It's a good thing. I don't think they'll ever fix it. It exists forever now, so use it to your advantage. We're gonna showcase skill 3 in this next stage, but before that, let me show you the power of her first talent once again, because you can see the enemies are walking out of her range, but they still take that bleed damage, and even before they reach the blue box, they're able to be killed, which supports her Module Y, because Module Y states that if enemies are killed with the bleed effect, it covers the HP of Ascalon, which helps her to have better survivability within the stage. And Module Y also increases the dodge chance, which is going to be good against all of these ranged flying enemies hitting onto her. There will be times that she will not take damage from them, which is really good in order to keep her there. With her currently using Skill 3 states that her attack range expands as you see, attack increases by 50% at M3, the attack interval is significantly shortened, and reduces the physical and arts hit rate of ground enemies by 50%, only ground enemies. She will be more likely to be attacked, so if there are other people around, she will actually have the highest taunt. Everybody will hit onto her first. But she recovers 8% max HP when the enemies actually miss hitting her or if she successfully dodge. So that's a big amount of HP increase, keeping her to survive even longer. But with this huge range, you can see how it's so good at peeling away all of these mobs that are coming in her way. Later on, I get to use her skill again for a second time. The charge time for her skill is quite long, 45 SP, but it also lasts just as long, 45 seconds. So even if there are 50 enemies coming all together at once, because she's a true AoE unit, everybody is able to be killed. Awesome to use. Let's give skill 3 even more impact in this stage. So yes, I'm using skill 3 for the bigger range to deal damage even across the lanes, and I'm using her talent for the bleed once again, this time to get rid of the green tiles a lot more easily. But with skill 3 being used and a lot of the enemies, or even everyone actually, are just ground enemies, it reduces their hit rate. The boss does hit very hard, but as you can see, I only have 1 medic being air outer and 3 units for her to heal. So with that reduction in hit rate, it allows for a better sustainability within the stage since the enemies can't hit as well as they want to. And during this point in time, Ascalon is helping to just kill them all away such that we only need to tolerate the boss singular damage at a certain point in time in the stage. And need I remind you that Ascalon has the increased taunt, so everybody else isn't being focused on for the ranged enemies. Of course, the melee enemies still hit Pepe, but the boss being a high damage dealer will be focusing on Ascalon the most. Thanks to the dodge, the reduction in hit rate, it makes Ascalon stay alive. And also, I'm using mod Y for this instance, where she can heal for every enemy that's killed by the bleed effect. So really, it's just great survivability, allowing her to sustain throughout the stage. Later on, when the boss is in phase 2, I still allow for the protection of herself, and just a great way to use her skill 3. Let's close off with how to build your Ascalon. As mentioned, skill 2 and skill 3 are amazing. If you want to M3 a skill 1 because you're using her as a AFK unit, you can actually do so, an M9able unit. Skill 2 is the one that you will mainly use most of the time, so feel free to do just that because it's a fast charging skill. When it comes to skill 3, I came to build it much later on because I realized it's honestly really good to use. There are special instances in perhaps an IS stage and RA stage where you might think, maybe I want to use this skill thanks to just how much damage she dishes out. But I would say you can prioritize this later after you've already done your skill 2. When it comes to the module, it depends on what you want. The first module allows the movement speed reduction and also allows her to just deal more damage. So it's basically a stat stick module. Whereas for her second module, the mod Y, that will actually give her that healing ability, although you only enjoy it from level 2 and level 3. This will increase her dodge chance as well. So that's the reason why I say the Module X is suitable for skill 2, Module Y is suitable for skill 3. Not all the time, sometimes you might mix around, where if you don't need her to be survivable, you might just want that movement speed down and more damage. So even if you're using Ascalon skill 3, you might end up still using Mod X and switch around. It's a great versatile unit. I do think more people will run Mod X over Mod Y, but I think in this case, assess what you need within the stage. If you're an Ascalon main, I think you'll end up building both. If you just want to afford one, then do Mod X, I would say. Okay, that's all that you need to know for Ascalon. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a big showcase because she's just great of a unit. So I'll see you guys in another video. Take care, y'all. Bye-bye.